Hey, what's up, everybody? Hello, fight fans. Welcome to episode 372 of the Neutral Corner Boxing Podcast. I am your host, Michael Montero. This is TNC 372. And I was looking at the calendar. Man, I haven't done an episode of the podcast, the actual podcast, in almost 3 months. The last time was in April. So, and you guys know what I'm going through. I mean, I have a 8-month-old and a 20-month-old baby at home, and I'm helping my wife as much as I can. So it's crazy. It's crazy right now. But man, almost 3 months. It's been a long time, and there's a lot going on. There's a lot to talk about. So I've stayed busy. I've done some gigs here or there. I've written a few articles for the Ring magazine. I'm going to have another article in the next issue. Um, I've done some ringside commentary for Combat Fight League. I've been on a few podcasts here or there. So I've gotten little gigs, little work where I could squeeze it in. I've done a couple of fight review videos and stuff like that. But man, it's been tough to like consistently do the podcast. So I apologize for that. I promise you guys it won't be this way forever. Things will be better once my youngest is a year old, because then she'll be on the same schedule. Both of the girls will be on the same schedule throughout the day. Their nap time will be the same. They'll eat at the same time. Right now, it's like there's one or the other is either eating or napping or something. So it's like constant. But it'll be better by the end of this year. Anyway, I know you guys aren't here to talk about that. I hope you're having a great summer so far, man. It's hot as hell here in Atlanta. It is so freaking humid, and I'm the whole South is like that. I'm just still adjusting to it. Maybe one day I'll have enough money where we can have a summer home up north in like Maine, and then come down here in the winter. 8 months out of the year, the weather here is great, but there's like 4 months of the year where I can't stand my life, and we're in the midst of that right now. But you guys didn't come here to talk about babies and weather. You came here to talk about boxing. So let's do it, man. Phones are open, so we'll take some calls. Yeah, I'm going to try to keep my energy up. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. Usually about this time, this is like we just put our kids down. More baby talk. My wife and I just put the girls down, and we put them down around 8:00 p.m. And then it's our quiet time. Then it's our chill time for a couple hours. Then we go to bed because we're exhausted. But tonight, I'm going to spend that time with you guys because I miss you, and there's a lot to talk about. So, and we got a really good fight tomorrow. We got a really, really fun fight tomorrow that I think is going to deliver. I think it's going to meet expectations. I think it's going to deliver. So let's get into this. Give me a few minutes to get through my review, preview, all that good stuff. But if you guys want to jump on the phones, we can do that too. I know that this is not our normal day or time, so it might not be convenient for everyone to call in. But if you do call in, I'll grab your call and we'll chat. All right, let's go to the news, man. Let's talk about. This story might be played out a little bit by now, so I apologize ahead of time because I've already have fatigue on it. Just all the social media crap. Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, right? They fought back in April. You guys know what happened there. Garcia gamed the system, cheated the system by coming in 3 pounds heavy. So the fight was already, like, in my opinion, that win, he already had an asterisk next to it already. But then we find out he tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs, specifically Osterine, and he actually failed multiple tests. I shouldn't use the word failed. That's not the right way to word it. He tested positive multiple times, and not just, one sample collected, but multiple samples over different days. And there were actually samples collected by different agencies. Some of it was VADA, some of it was the New York Commission. So this dude failed multiple tests. And he tries to say that the supplements were tainted and stuff. There's absolutely zero evidence of that. He can't prove that. So anyway, the New York State Athletic Commission has suspended him. He's going to be out for a year. And the win that Garcia had over Haney is now officially a no contest. So basically that means it never happened. It happened And people are going to remember the images of that fight because Haney did not look good. He was beat up badly, dropped multiple times. Now, how much of that was Garcia being heavier, healthier, stronger, not killing himself to make weight the way Haney does, and using performance-enhancing drugs? And how much of it was just Haney having a really bad night and stylistically not matching up well with Ryan Garcia? So that's something that we've argued about on the Ring ratings panel. Hanging out with those guys again and contributing to the Ring ratings. So if you guys want to talk about ratings, we could do that. But there have been some people, some members of the panel, calling for Haney to possibly be reinstated into the top 10 pound for pound. And I've made my opinion very clear. I never personally thought Haney was pound for pound. I wasn't a believer yet, because before he fought Ryan Garcia, if you look at every fight Haney has had during his lightweight run and then his recent move up to 140, he has had a significant size advantage against everybody he's fought. He has made an unnaturally a low weight for him that's actually going to hurt him later on in life in his career, because he's a big kid. I mean, this kid walks around $180, $190. You guys have seen the pictures of him in between fights. And to get down to 135 for all those years, and now it's 140, that's still a stretch. He is a welterweight that's been fighting at lightweight for years. So anyway, he's got all of that going on. And then remember, Garcia started at 135 as well, and he moved up. I don't know if Garcia is ever going to fight at 140 again. I don't know what to make of all. To me, Ryan Garcia is just kind of done. He's very, very popular, and he's willing to take tough fights, and he's going to continue to, I think, get in some big fight. If he's willing to fight names, like if he wants to fight Teofimo Lopez and guys, he'll get those fights next year. He'll be in another big fight. But I can't take the dude seriously until he starts making weight and fighting clean. And until we see that, yeah, I'm kind of done with Ryan Garcia. As it relates to Devin Haney, sorry, I lost track of my dad brain. I lost track of what I was saying before in relation to Haney being pound for pound. The minute he got in there against a guy that could match up to him physically in terms of strength, size, and again, I fully acknowledge that Ryan Garcia cheated. We know this, right? But Haney didn't look the same. And so the argument going back and forth with the Ring ratings panel is people are saying, look, we get that Ryan Garcia cheated, but that did not look like a pound for pound performance at all from Devin Haney. It's not just that he got caught with one shot, and because Garcia cheated and was stronger in that fight, that shot hurt more than it normally would have hurt. The point is that the shot landed, and it landed over and over and over. And Ryan Garcia does one thing really, really well, and that's his left hook. And he couldn't miss against Haney. Haney had to know it was coming. He fought this guy 6 times in the amateurs. He couldn't stop that left hook. Ulsterine doesn't make you faster or more accurate puncher. It doesn't do that. Extra weight doesn't make you a sharper puncher. So I look at that performance, and then I look at the performance against Lomachenko, which was very close. If you had Haney winning, fine. If you had Lomachenko winning or a draw, fine. But it was close enough. And again, what did I just say? Devin Haney is a welterweight that's been fighting at lightweight. Lomachenko is a featherweight who's been fighting at lightweight, and he's old and on the downside, and he still fought, most people thought, pretty much even 6 rounds apiece with Devin Haney. So there was a couple of recent performances, and I know he beat Regis Prograis, but Regis Prograis and Josh Taylor are finished at 140. They're not going to be top guys any longer. And I liked both of them a lot, but they just fizzled out very fast for different reasons. Inactivity killed both those guys. But Haney's, performances against Lomachenko and Garcia, to me, didn't look pound for pound. I just don't think he's a pound for pound guy. All of his best wins, he had a significant weight advantage. That's kind of the antithesis of what pound for pound is all about. So that's where I'm at with that. Haney has asked DAZN and other social media platforms and stuff to remove clips of the fight or video of the fight from their platforms. I think it's a bit much. Like, dude, chill. The victim card playing and all that is, if I'm Haney, if I'm advising Devin Haney, I'm telling him, just be quiet, get back in the gym, get back to work, and let Ryan Garcia just keep saying a bunch of stupid, idiotic bullshit and not take any accountability for what he did. And he'll just bury himself. But if you keep playing the victim and you keep saying, oh, woe is me, and people are not going to, they're not going to look at this the way they should, because you're making yourself kind of look bad and you're annoying people. So I think that's a little bit too far from Haney. He should just, again, Garcia cheated. He cheated the weight. He used performance-enhancing drugs, and he's trying to deny it. He's trying to justify it. He's posting all kinds of weird insanity on social media. Like, just let him bury himself. Just kind of stand there, answer questions, basically do what we saw in the debate last night here in Atlanta. I'm not going to get into that. One guy kind of just stood there and answered a few questions and let the other guy sink himself. That's what Haney should do here, in my opinion. He says he's going to stay out of the ring till next year. Will any of you miss him? Will any of you miss Ryan Garcia? Me personally, I'm not going to miss either of them. Have a nice year off, fellas. That's where I'm at with it. So the mandatory for Devin Haney was Sandor Martin. He was supposed to fight him, right? Sandor Martin's from Spain. And Eddie Hearn of Matchroom Boxing did not even bid on the fight. Only Top Rank, who represents Martin, did. And so Haney didn't like that, posted on social media. And again, this is just kind of some of the things the kid does that brings criticism upon himself. He said, wow, Matchroom, nasty work. I should have bid myself. Well, you should have. You run your own promotional company and you're not represented by Matchroom. You have a loose affiliation with him. You've done some work with him, but Eddie Hearn is under no contractual obligation to represent you in any fight. He can get in and get out depending on the event, if he thinks it'll be worth it or not. He was involved in the Garcia fight because that's a big fight. But for Hearn to not bid on a Haney Martin fight is smart, because it's going to lose money. So just, again, that's the people that, and it's Haney's father that advises him, and advises him so poorly. From a managerial perspective, in terms of which fights to take and when to take them, his dad does a really good job for his son. They get in situations where they have all the control as much as they can. They screwed up with Garcia because they just didn't prepare enough for what Garcia, who knew Garcia was going to cheat, right? But with the weight thing and the 3 extra pounds, maybe they shouldn't have taken the fight. I don't know. You know, in hindsight, maybe they should have told him to get lost. Anyway, in terms of managerial stuff, Bill Haney's done good. But when it comes to the public relations stuff, no good. No bueno. And it is just another example. Anyway, the WBC names Devin Haney champion in recess because he's been a victim of a stressful situation. It's kind of bizarre. The BC's just constant rule changes and the treatment of certain fighters certain ways, other fighters different ways. It's kind of laughable at this point. The champion in recess used to be for guys who were injured, champions who were injured and had to get out of the ring. Vitaly Klitschko is an example, where I want to say Vitaly was out for like 4 years because he had injuries, he had to get surgery, recovery, all this. But he was able to recover from all that and came back. I want to say, again, it was like 3-4 years. And he immediately got to fight for the WBC title. I believe it was against Sam Peter. That's what the champion recess is supposed to be about, but not for a guy coming off a loss where his opponent cheated and he feels cheated by the system, all that stuff. That's not what the champion recess is about. Anyway, they named Alberto Puello as him and Martin are going to fight for the vacant belt. So whenever Devin Haney comes back, he's got an opponent for him, a showcase opponent, to get this title back. So that is that. Super chat My brother CJ Duncan, thank you so much. He says, salute, my brother Montero. Next call-in show, got to chop it up. Smash that like button, folks. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Hamed in the chat said that it's completely false, Mike, that Devin Haney was asking for the clips of the fight to be pulled off the DAZN. That was rumors started by Ryan Garcia's team. Well, there you go. That's awful. I hope that whoever made those posts, and you guys, I'm kind of in and out halfway right now because I'm dealing with all my family stuff. I'm not up on the news as much as normal because I know there's a lot of fake news out there and fake Twitter accounts and all kinds of stuff. So, if Ryan Garcia is kind of playing that game and spreading rumors, I hope the media is calling him out on that. But he is one of the biggest stars. He's the most popular American fighter right now. In terms of overall popularity, he's more popular than Gervonta Davis, Teofimo Lopez, Shakur Stevenson, all those guys. He's the most popular young American fighter. So I think a lot of people in media are scared to go after him hard. But it's like, dude, someone needs to just kind of step on this kid's neck a little bit and be like, yo, shut up. We'll see what happens. Anyway, I will say this. Some of Ryan Garcia's fanboys have they've quickly become, I'm not going to call them the worst fan base in the sport, but they're up there. They're up there. They're becoming pretty damn annoying. All right. Other news, heavyweight news. Daniel Dubois is now the IBF champion. What? Alexander Usyk vacates his belt. So we just had a undisputed championship fight less than 2 months ago. It was in May. And 6 weeks ago, I think it was. So we didn't even have undisputed for 2 months before the IBF, who they're like, we follow our rules. Okay. And I get it. The WBC, the WBA, they don't. They make them up as they go. And can't there be a happy medium between the two? Can't you? And look, Filip Hrgović was the mandatory for a while, and he accepted, he stood by. He took a very lucrative fight to Turki Al-Sheikh, put up money for him to fight Dubois. It didn't go well for Hrgović. He lost that mandatory spot. So, hey, sometimes you take a gamble, you take a risk, it doesn't work out. But anyway, Usyk, he's already beat Anthony Joshua twice, and he's already beat Daniel Dubois. He knocked Daniel Dubois out. So he's decisively beat those two guys in 3 fights. And now they're going to fight for one of the titles that he just defended in an undisputed championship fight against Tyson Fury less than 2 months ago. I mean, there has to be some kind of fine print in that IBF paperwork that says in a situation like this, we can put off the mandatory, knowing that we already know they're going to do a rematch. At least that's what's on the schedule, is a rematch between Usyk and Fury in December. So, we already know this. Knowing that, why would you pull this move? Boxing is different than any other sport. You can't always go strictly by the book. You do sometimes have to go into that gray area. That's just how boxing works. I could give a million examples of it, but I think you guys know where I'm going with this. So these sanctioning organizations, dude, if you're the IBF, you've got 2 guys now fighting for your belt who were just defeated by the undisputed champion. And you, the IBF, have just screwed up undisputed in less than 2 months. It wasn't the fighters who screwed it up. It wasn't Tyson Fury. It wasn't Alexander Usyk. It wasn't Dubois or Joshua. It was the IBF. I think Dubois had the interim belt, right? Him and Joshua should have fought for the interim belt, take step-aside money, fight for the interim belt, and you're contractually mandated to fight the winner of Usyk Fury in the rematch. And if whether it be Usyk or Fury, if they wanted to just vacate the belt at that point, fine. But dude, this is the move you pull. Yeah, this is a head scratcher from the IBF, and they've had a few of these in recent years. So back to Hrgović, though, yeah, it was back in June. It was, wait, it still is June. It was this month. It was earlier this month that I believe it was that June 1st card, right? That Dubois beat Hrgović, and now will have his most lucrative fight. So, man, sometimes you jump in when you have an opportunity, and sometimes you come up short. Dubois did that against Joyce, came up short. Did it against Usyk, came up short. But here it is. He went in there and fought Hrgović. A lot of people, a lot of you guys out there, admit it. Admit it. You had Hrgović winning that fight. A lot of you thought he was going to win that fight. There was a couple of people, I'm pointing at myself, for those of you listening on audio, who were telling you Dubois was going to win. But he took a gamble on himself again, and that time it worked out. And now he's got a fight lined up with Anthony Joshua. And everyone's saying Joshua was going to smash Dubois. Don't be so sure about that, guys. A lot of you guys counting Danny Dubois out of this fight. Back up. I think it's going to be a competitive fight. I think it's going to be a very, very entertaining heavyweight fight. I'm looking forward to it. But it shouldn't be for a freaking title. We know who the champion is. And last point on this, I'll move on. A lot of you mentally masturbate over the undisputed thing. As I say all the time, there's a lot of gray area in boxing, and there are some champions out there that have had just one or two belts that had a far better run than guys that have gone undisputed and not had to face the top challenges to get that undisputed, or did it in a weak division, or did it all in one fight, or whatever it is. So it's not all created equal. It's not always about the belts, the amount of belts you have and things like that. Is it an accomplishment to get undisputed? Absolutely. It's extraordinarily difficult. It took 25 years to get it at heavyweight in this era with 5,000 belts. It wasn't easy, and it lasted for like 6 weeks. But everyone knows who the champ is, right? We all know it's Usyk. If he beats Fury again, that just substantiates himself further as the champion. So if anybody else has a belt, the WBA will probably give out their secondary belt to somebody if they haven't already. The BC probably will. They'll name some person in recess or whatever. Deontay Wilder will be the champ in recess. We know, though, they're going to pull those stunts, but no one's going to recognize those guys as the champ. We know who the champ is. So sometimes you just got to ignore the belts, man. All right. Jake Catterall versus Regis Prograis on August 24th. I like this fight. Jack Catterall's career is trending up. Regis Prograis' career is trending down. I like Catterall in this fight. I like him to win by points. And then the Usyk Fury rematch is now scheduled for December 21st. I think originally they were talking about maybe October, November, but they've bumped it back just a few days before Christmas. So it's like a early Christmas present for us boxing fans. Okay, that's all the news. I'll get into some more stuff in just a second. Let me get these super chats. We got Trent Non-Peril. Thank you so much, Trent. He says, I was upset they kicked George Jakovich off of Pro Box. Owner was on Teddy Atlas's podcast. You'd be the best possible addition to any boxing platform. I appreciate that, Trent. I know the guys at Pro Box very well. I was lined up to take a position with them in recent times and be like a senior reporter for them. But the amount of work that they were expecting of me to take on that role, I just couldn't do it. And so I had to turn down the offer. But I really the guys at Pro Box are great. For the most part, they're just really good dudes. And I have a good relationship with several of them. And I would have loved to have taken that gig. And, 5 years ago I could have. But right now I just do ad hoc stuff where I can jump in and out. And that's working for me. And, most platforms won't they're not cool with that kind of thing. They want full time. They want a certain amount of articles a week, a certain amount of tweets a week, and all that kind of stuff. And I can't guarantee that. Trent with another super chat. Thanks again, brother. He says, I won $450 on Liam Paro, bet 100. Damn, nice. He trained at my home gym city Athletic Boxing and Nemea Boxing Club. Picking Aaron McKenna to win prize fighter tournament. Good stuff, Trent. Good stuff, brother. Man, $100 to win 450. That's solid. That's solid, man. Okay, review. I'm only going to review. If you guys want to review any specific fight, call in, whatever, get in the chat, we'll do it. But there's just one major fight we've had recently that I'm going to review, and that's Gervonta Davis improving to 30-0 with a KO 8 win over Frank Martin, and they're going to fight Lomachenko next, right? People are like, is it going to be Lomachenko? Yes. Okay. This has been the plan. So it's going to be Lomachenko next. Before we talk about Tank Loma, let's talk about Tank Martin. People got excited. I saw posts, I saw articles saying, oh my God, what an amazing, scintillating performance, this, that, the other. And it was. Gervonta Davis did what he was supposed to do, but it was against Frank Martin, who is a legitimate, qualified prize fighter, but he is not at the elite level. Gervonta Davis is now, I believe, 30 years old or almost 30. And he is yet to face an elite fighter in their natural weight in their physical prime. He hasn't done it yet. Until he does that, I can't look at him and say, that's the dude. I can't do it. A lot of you out there are doing it already. Okay, cool. More power to you. That's your opinion. That's all good. Have your opinion. I'm just trying to keep the same energy and be consistent. He hasn't done pound for pound worthy things, in my opinion. The Frank Martin fight was a showcase for him. He did his part. He did his job, and he filled his role. But now they're going to fight Lomachenko. So Lomachenko is going to be what? He's 36 now. Okay, you guys think about this. 36 doesn't sound old. If we're talking heavyweights, it's not. But when we're talking featherweights that had 300 plus amateur fights, multiple Olympics, and you've been fighting at a unnaturally heavier weight against much bigger guys now for more than half a decade, I think, at lightweight. 36 is old. Lomachenko is a special fighter, so he's a lot better at 36 than a lot of other guys at that weight would be. But he's clearly past his best. And I've been saying this for the last couple of years, right? I think that, the receipts are out there. So I'm not just saying this now because he's going to fight Tank. I've been saying it for a while. He's not the same guy he once was. That absolute peak was right around that Linares fight, maybe just before it. That was right around peak. Okay. After that, it's been slightly on the downslide. I obviously am not the only person who sees this. Gervonta Davis's team, who has been extremely careful in their matchmaking. Okay. They are on record. You guys have seen the meme, the screenshot from I think 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, where there are interviews with Floyd Mayweather and just different people handling Tank Davis, his management, saying, yeah, we don't want Lomachenko. We're not taking that. We're not thinking about that fight. I mean, for years. And now here we are in 2024. And they're like, yeah, that's the next fight. And it just so happens that they each have a belt because I think Davis had the interim belt or regular belt and was elevated or something. And then Loma won a belt back, a vacant belt against George Kambosos. So they both have these belts that really aren't like the real championship, right? The last guy we had at the weight that was undisputed was Devin Haney, and the belts got all blown up when he left. So it's kind of been up in the air. But the top two guys right now in the division is Tank Davis and Vasily Lomachenko. Those are the top two lightweights. So the two of them fight. You got a lineal champ. You got a Ring Magazine champ. It's a big fight. So it makes sense for it to happen now for Gervonta Davis. It doesn't necessarily make sense for it to happen now for Lomachenko. But Loma has taken these kind of fights. He fought Teofimo Lopez when he didn't need to. He fought Devin Haney when he didn't need to. He has chosen to make decisions that may not have been in his best interest from a managerial perspective. There was a chance for him to fight Kambosos before Haney did to get all those belts, but he decided to help with the war effort in his home country and let Haney fight for him, and then fought Haney, right? A lot of people would have advised against that. But so Loma's taken those kind of things, and I have no doubt that Loma will take this fight. And Bob Arum, Top Rank, who represent him, know that his days are numbered. He's actually talked about retirement in recent times, and they're going to cash out. They're going to cash out. They're going to cash that check. So Gervonta Davis is going to win the fight by decision. It'll go the distance. It'll be points. But Loma, again, 36, past his best, has been softened up since moving up to lightweight since in 2018. So it's been 6 years. He's been softened up a little bit. It's the perfect time. And I understand that Loma looked fantastic against George Kambosos. Guys, that's a styles thing. That's a styles thing. Don't get seduced by that shit, because the people in boxing know what they're doing. Top Rank knows what they're doing. There's a little smoke and mirrors to it. Trust me. Gervonta Davis is going to decisively beat Lomachenko. Trust me on this. It will go the distance. I don't think he's going to knock Loma out. And Loma will have moments. But at the time these guys are fighting, you know it's going to be in Vegas. You know the judges, what they're going to do in any close round. I'm telling you, the scorecards will not be that close. Okay, that's the review. Quick preview. We got a couple of fights tomorrow night. The next big show is August 3rd in Los Angeles. I'm actually writing a preview piece on that for the next issue of the Ring magazine, the digital magazine. So make sure you guys check that out. That's the next big event. But we got some fun stuff this weekend. So tomorrow night, let's start in Miami. Top Rank, ESPN. Teofimo Lopez going up against Canadian Steve Claggett. This is the second defense of Tio's WBO 140 belt. Claggett has lost 7 times in his career. Pretty much every time he's stepped up, he's lost. But he's only been stopped once, and that was in 2011. So he has been fairly durable. So the question here is really not, is Teofimo Lopez going to win? Because I think that's pretty obvious that he will. This is a showcase for him. It's, can he stop Claggett? Is he going to look spectacular? Is he going to look every bit as good as Lomachenko looked against Kambosos, as Gervonta Davis looked against Frank Martin? Because those fights were set up for those fighters to look good. Kambosos was there to make Loma look good. Martin was there to make Tank look good. Well, in this situation, Claggett's kind of there to make Tio look good. Again, Top Rank, best in the business at matchmaking. They know what they're doing here. Are we going to see the Tio that we saw against Josh Taylor and Lomachenko and those kinds of guys, or not? We're going to see the guy we've seen in some lackluster performances. We'll find out. Also on this card, Emiliano Vargas, 20-year-old, 140-pound prospect. He's 10-0. Son of Fernando Vargas and Robeisy Ramirez are the two notables on the undercard. All right, let's go to Glendale, Arizona, just outside of Phoenix on DAZN. It is a Matchroom card. Juan Francisco Estrada, 34 years old, going up against Jesse Bam Rodriguez, 24 years old, for Estrada's WBC 115-pound title. Estrada is 44-3 in his storied career. First ballot Hall of Famer, in my opinion. He's got my vote. Jesse Rodriguez, 19-0, upstart. I think some people already have them on their pound-for-pound list. I think that's a little premature. I think I want to see how he looks in this fight. Then maybe we could talk about that. But really impressive run. Of all the young American fighters, he may have the most impressive run out of all of them. He doesn't get the hype that some of those other names that I've talked about on this show get, but you can make a very valid argument, especially if he beats Estrada, that he's had a better run than all of them. So anyway, this matchup, I love it. And to be clear, this is what I would call a diehard fight fans fight. This is a diehard boxing fans matchup. The casual fan isn't really going to tune into this. It's not for them. They're not going to understand it. They don't know who the fighters are, right? Outside of Mexico, everyone's watching it. Yeah. But here in America, yeah, a casual sports fan probably not going to watch this, but diehards are excited for this. Guys, it's Mexico versus Texas. It's Southpaw versus Orthodox. It's young versus old, right? You got all the ingredients, all the stuff. One guy's career trajectory is going downward. The other guy's is going upward. This is just the way it happens in boxing. It's that passing of the torch. But Estrada is so good, so experienced that, on paper, you would think Rodriguez is going to steamroll him. No, I don't think so. This is going to be a tough fight. I like Jesse Bam Rodriguez to win, but it's going the distance. And Bam's probably going to win like 115, 113. It's going to be that kind of fight. Juan Francisco Estrada does not get decisively beat. He just doesn't. So here, a couple things of note. Activity matters, right? Particularly with little guys. These little guys got to get in the ring more often. Estrada did not fight at all in 2023 for various reasons. He's only had 4 fights since 2019. Okay. Over that same time span, Bam has had 9 fights. So Bam has had more than twice the amount of fights. He's also fought recently where Estrada did not fight at all last year. Bam did. So in terms of activity and being sharp, that clearly favors Bam. And if I'm him, his team, my game plan is to start fast and bank a couple early rounds, because Estrada the ring rust will wear off and he'll find a groove in the middle rounds and he'll make a little surge. Start fast, weather the storm when Estrada has his little mid-round surge, and then finish strong down the stretch. That would be my game plan for Bam Rodriguez. Also on this card, Sonny Edwards returning from his first loss, which it was against Bam in December. That was his first bout in the United States. It was also in Glendale, so he's going right back to where he suffered his first loss, and he'll be on that undercard. Okay, that's it. That's all the stuff. That is all the stuff. Okay. Let's see. I want to make sure I'm caught up on everything before we jump to the phones. Let's see. Yes. Wow. Super chat from, I don't even know, DLZX4SPQMTVJW. Awesome super chat. Thank you so much, my man. I'm assuming that's my man or my lady. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. That's pretty freaking awesome. All right. Let's jump to some phones. Let's go out to California. Hey, my man, Michael Mendiola. How you doing, brother?
Hi, Mike. How are you?
Good, man. Good.
Hope you can hear me good. My phone's been a little spotty today. I don't know what it is.
No, I hear you perfect.
Right on. Hey, so first things first, I was in Atlanta this past weekend. We didn't make it out there, and I know we have maybe tried to connect, and I know you were probably super busy, and then our plans all got a little bit altered. My wife ended up having to come in a day late or nearly a day late because of some family health issues and stuff. But it was pretty cool, man. We spent some time in that Centennial Park area right there near downtown.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where they had, like, when they had the Super Bowl here a couple years ago, they had a big setup there. That's where they did the whole Olympic Village and stuff when the Olympics were here. It's a cool area, man. There's a lot to do in Atlanta. It's just very sprawled. You have to drive everywhere.
Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah. But hey, getting to these fights this weekend, the Estrada, obviously I feel the same way you did. I was thinking the exact same thing. Estrada's activity level has just been non-existent. That's not going to serve him well against Bam Rodriguez. But that undercard is shaping up good. There's a young fighter on that card, Danny Barrios. He's out of Phoenix, Arizona. He's an undefeated kid fighting another undefeated kid for the WBC Continental America title at 122. That's going to be a great fight. Danny has spent a lot of time here in California sparring at our gym. I don't know much about his opponent other than he's undefeated as well and has, I think, 8 knockouts. So keep an eye on that fight, that undercard.
All right, cool. We'll do.
And then in Miami, I don't know much about Claggett, but another kid that's been sparring at our gym, a Filipino, Gino Rodrigo, he's been sparring with us the last couple of weeks, and he's fighting Elvis Rodriguez on that card.
Okay.
And he's a tough Filipino. He's tough. He's got a couple losses, but he's tough, man. So hopefully he makes a good account of himself.
Man, so you're working with a lot of different guys from all over the country, man. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we get some real good. We get a lot of good sparring at our gym because our gym's private. It's not just like an open gym with amateurs and stuff. It's all professional. So usually we get some really high level sparring in there, which is really cool. It's just everybody gets better, and we get to meet a lot of these fighters, and you just by default you kind of start rooting for them a little bit.
Of course,
but
yeah.
Yeah, and then they're all nice kids too. It's so funny because the kid that I work with, Renee, he's scheduled to fight July 20th here in California against another Filipino kid who happens to be really, really good friends with Gino, the other Filipino kid who's been sparring with us. So we're like, okay, we're helping each other up at the same time. We're thinking, okay, maybe this kid Gino and then is going to Renee's future opponent and saying, here, this is what this guy does well or what he doesn't do well. So It's a little bit incestuous there. It's crazy how it's a very small circle in boxing.
Very small world. Absolutely.
Yeah. But anyways, man, I just wanted to touch base on that. I think the Teofimo should get by this guy. Like you said, it's a showcase fight. Hopefully that Dubois fight versus AJ it's competitive. But I think you're right though. A lot of people are sleeping on Dubois, and he has he's taking his lumps, but he's fighting well. So should be interesting.
I think it will be, at least for the first 5 or 6 rounds. I really, really do, because Joshua has to look out for his power. Dubois is a big, strong, physical guy that can match up with Joshua in terms of strength and power. So Joshua can't be careless. He could get caught with something and it could change that fight. So do I favor Joshua? Of course. But I think Dubois has a real shot. I really feel that way.
Yeah, and with the exception of the one fight, what was the fight where Dubois went down a couple of times against that guy? I don't want to use the term nobody, but a guy we didn't really know much about.
Oh, was that the one after the Joyce fight? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just didn't look good. He looked shaky.
Yeah, but I mean, the last version of Dubois we saw was such a contrast to that guy. So it's which Dubois is going to show up, because in horse racing they use the terminology bounce. Like, is this horse going to bounce? Meaning, like, he ran lights out the last race. Sometimes I don't know what it's called, but just by nature they bounce and they just don't run well. Hopefully that's not the case with Dubois, because ultimately we want to see a good competitive fight. There's not a whole lot in the heavyweight landscape coming up, so I'm actually looking forward to that fight. So
me too.
All right, Mike. Good catching up, brother. Hope you're well, man. Take care with all those little ladies, man. So
yeah, all right, man. Thank you so much. Next time you get out here, we gotta meet up. The girls will be older, so we could take them in the car and like meet up at we gotta do like a Braves game or something like that. Just hang out at the stadium and stuff. So we'll do it, man. We'll definitely.
Oh yeah, they actually, the day we arrived, they played a day game there, I think, and I was actually looking to do that. But they played a day game, so I was like, we missed it.
Gotcha.
But it's all good, though. Next time, we'll be back.
Absolutely, brother.
Take care, brother. Have a good one. Have a good weekend.
Too, man. All right.
Thanks, brother. Bye.
There he goes. Okay. Let's just keep it rolling. Let's jump to another call. I think this is Hamed. How you doing, my man?
Yes, Mike. It's been a long time. How you been keeping?
Good. I'm just tired. I'm just tired all the time, Hamed. But that's my life.
Yeah, it's good to see you back. I was just going to ask you before I talk about boxing, how often do you think you could get back doing a show, or does it depend on the schedule?
I mean, it's something I've talked about with my wife a lot lately. I don't know if you heard at the top of the show, but like my daughters right now, they're 20 months and 8 months. So once the baby hits about a year old, they're on a 1 nap a day schedule. So the oldest is doing 1 nap a day. The youngest is doing 2 naps a day, and they're not at the same time. So like one's always we're putting him down for a nap. The other one's up and eating and playing. So it's just constant. There's no break until they both go down to bed for the night. So during the day, it's just very, very hard for me to get away for more than like an hour at a time. And I use that time most of the time to get to the gym and train for my sanity. If I could find more time than that, then I could jump on and do a show. But it's just so inconsistent right now. But by the end of the year, my youngest will be a year old. She'll be on one nap a day. They'll both be napping like from 1 to 3 p.m. Or maybe I could jump on then and start doing a show at that time. But I'll figure it out. It will definitely, like, by the end of this year, it'll definitely be back to doing regular shows.
Yeah, I thought you must be busy, but I have missed the show because I don't really watch or listen to that many boxing podcasts. But I'll try and call in here and there. But I do like to watch your show because I wanted to hear your thoughts on the Benavidez Gvozdyk fight as well. Because I was quite surprised that there were quite a lot of people that thought Benavidez didn't win that fight. And I thought it was close down the stretch, but I thought Benavidez clearly won about 8 rounds in that fight. I'm not sure how you scored it, but how did you have that fight?
I'm with you. I thought that is like 116, 112, that kind of fight. Yeah. You could even argue 117, 111 for Benavidez. I think Don Trella had it like a shutout, which is too wide. But for me, Gvozdyk just didn't do enough work. He kind of would rebound here or there in certain rounds and have little spurts, but like Benavidez just did the more consistent work. The fight pretty much went the way I thought it would. I actually thought Benavidez at this stage should stop a guy like Gvozdyk, and the fact that he didn't, it is kind of a bad look in my opinion, because Vozdyk's just not the guy he was a few years ago.
Yeah, I thought Gvozdyk did very well in the second half, but I couldn't give him any rounds in the first 6. I think if you want to be generous, maybe the first round. But I thought once Benavidez slowed down, I'm with you. I think like 8-4, maybe 9-3. But I just don't know how people had Gvozdyk winning more than 4 or 5 rounds at best. I thought that's the most you could give him if I give him every benefit, because I thought he started too late. But yes, I paid for that fight. I was really looking forward to that, and I thought it wasn't a bad fight for first 8-9 rounds. I know Benavidez got tired, but I think Benavidez probably is not ready for Beterbiev or Bivol. Yeah, he may never beat those guys, but I think he needs to at least have a couple more tests, because even though I personally think Gvozdyk is still a top 3 to 5 light heavyweight, but you're right, he is definitely past his peak. But do you reckon Gvozdyk could give Bivol problems? Say if Bivol beats Beterbiev and Benavidez ends up fighting Canelo, I still want to see all these guys fight each other. I know Benavidez will have to, or should be fighting the winner down the line, but Gvozdyk and Bivol is a fight that I still want to see.
Yeah, I'd welcome that fight. I would definitely favor Bivol at this stage, but Bivol does have a tendency to sometimes to fight really, really high, at a high level when he has to, and then in other fights he kind of drops a level. So I think that would be competitive. I mean, look, Gvozdyk is a very skilled, savvy, experienced fighter, and he's going to pretty much give anybody problems. I mean, people forget he was beating Beterbiev before the Russian came on and stopped him. Gvozdyk was winning that fight. So
yeah, he was ahead.
Yeah, he was maybe the only guy I can think of that was ahead of Beterbiev that far into a fight. So he's a damn good fighter. It's just he's not the same guy. He's just not the same. He hasn't been active. He hasn't been in there against the elite level guys. Now, maybe he can bounce back off this Benavidez fight and being in with a top guy like that, and now he could go on the run. We'll see. But just based on what my eyes see, the fact that you mentioned it, he started kind of late, right? And he started getting his groove in the second half. That is the telltale sign of an old fighter, when it takes them a few rounds to get going, and because he wasn't always like that. So that just kind of, to me, proves it that he's just not that guy anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you another thing. You know, regarding Canelo and Benavidez or whatever, Canelo Crawford. I still want to see the Benavidez Canelo fight because I'm seriously not sure who would win that fight. I went back and forth. I know some people now are saying Benavidez will be the favorite, and there's others that still think Canelo will beat him. But I asked, I think it was Steve Kim and Mario Lopez the other day on the show. He was asked, what was it, the question when you ask a question? And I don't know what you think, but what would be a better fight? Crawford fighting Teofimo Lopez, who fights this Saturday, or Canelo fighting Crawford? Because I think the weight disparity between Canelo and Crawford is bigger.
I'm actually going to say that the size difference. I know the weight. Forget about weight for 1 second. Let's just talk about height, length, just natural size. Okay. Teofimo Lopez right now is a guy at 140. Crawford's about to fight at 154. Crawford did start as a lightweight, and so did Teo, but Crawford's taller, longer, and physically much stronger than Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo might be faster, might have a little more of the fast twitch kind of stuff happening, but not by much. Against Crawford against Canelo, I want to say Crawford's taller and he has the longer reach and longer arms. So Canelo is heavier and thicker and sturdier, and he's been fighting much bigger guys. But in terms of reach, Crawford's probably the bigger guy. And it would not surprise me at all. Remember how Charlo looked in his recent fight against Canelo? He looked like the bigger guy in the ring. He wasn't as thick as Canelo, but he was tall and long. And Charlo is just not that good to compete with a guy like Canelo. But Crawford is. If it were up to me right now, I mean, I would go Crawford Canelo because that's a much bigger fight. It's going to get more casual fans excited. Crawford coming off that big win over Spence, Canelo being who he is, being on the downside himself. He hasn't fought an elite level guy in quite a while in his prime. I would take that matchup. And I think Crawford would be competitive. I think you have to favor Canelo because of the size, but I think Crawford would certainly be competitive.
All right, interesting. Because I heard Usyk say he thinks Crawford will win as well. I'm quite surprised. Like there's quite a lot of
Crawford could definitely beat Canelo. He could definitely beat Canelo. I mean,
I just think the jump in weight is a bit like he's never fought. He's never fought a middleweight or super middleweight.
I'm with you.
But Canelo was
I completely agree. But we just saw what Usyk did to Fury, right? And I get it. It's heavyweights. It's a completely different thing. But it's like most of the time, weight matters. But you have to look at when the guys are fighting, where they're fighting, all of that. If they go to Vegas and they fight, I think Crawford could win a decision. I really do against Canelo. At this stage of Canelo's career, I could see it happening. I'd have to really dig into that fight more if it does happen. It would be a huge step up, but it's one of those kind of can't lose situations for Crawford because if he does lose, he'll be like, oh, the weight was too much. It's fine. I dared to be great. And he'd actually, unlike Charlo, Crawford would try to win. He'd actually go in there and try to win. That's why I'd be interested in seeing it.
Yeah, Mike, before I go, I just want to say, the thing is, I was at the Golovkin Kell Brook fight, and the only criticism I have, complaints about this fight, if it does happen, is we've seen so many of these fights, and very rarely the guy jumping up 2 or 3 weight classes wins. I think right. Charlo is bigger. I didn't like that, but Charlo was bigger. Maybe not as good, but Charlo and Canelo were similar size. Just Canelo was on a different level. I agree with you in terms of skills and overall, just as a boxer. But Crawford hasn't fought a light middleweight. He's gonna have one fight, and I just think if he's fighting a guy who won rounds against Bivol at 175 and has been a super middleweight for a good, I think, 4 years, I don't like the optics of the fight. If Crawford could do something at middleweight and actually go up in weight and actually start beating guys like maybe Janabek after Madrimov, then maybe I think maybe it's the time to make the fight. But I just rather see Canelo fight Benavidez and actually see Crawford fight other guys at 54, because maybe those fights are not big, but because I think there's better fights to make at 54 with Virgil Ortiz, and I think the 154 division is kind of open, but we'll see what happens. I don't know if Canelo is going to fight him, because Canelo could end up fighting, I think, Edgar Berlanga, they say. And I've heard from various people saying that's the fight. It looks like that could happen, but maybe Canelo changes his mind. I just don't like the Crawford fight at the moment. If Crawford could show something against Madrimov and then against someone at middleweight, then maybe I might be with you. But I personally just think it's going to be like another scenario where guys like when Cal Brook moved up, or it was Mikey Garcia, Ricardo. I know Crawford's probably better than a lot of these fighters. It's just, I think they're biting off more than they could chew, and that could be the same with Crawford as well.
Yeah, you might be right. You might be right. We got to see. I will say this before I let you go. I'm looking at Madrimov here. He's listed as 5'8" with a 68-inch reach. Alvarez is listed as 5'7" with a 70-inch reach. So there's a little bit of a similarity in the way those two guys are built. I think that there's some strategic matchmaking here for Team Crawford. I mean, they're going for that WBO belt. They have a good relationship with that organization. I get all that, but I think they're looking at Madrimov, his body size, all that stuff, his experience level, and they're testing the waters, to your point. And if he looks really good in that fight, then I think the Canelo fight's a real possibility. I really do.
Yeah, that's a good fight as well. Before I go, because I do like the Madrimov fight, but Crawford's gonna have to win and win in good fashion. Because if he gets dropped or doesn't look great, then I don't know. I think the Canelo fight's gonna be a tough sell to get people to start believing you could jump up. Was it 2 or 3 weight classes? But Mike, I'll let you get to the other callers. It's good talking to you.
All right, thanks, man. Have a great weekend, brother.
All right. You too, enough. Thank you.
All right, there he goes. Trent with another super chat. Thank you so much. He says, Bohachuk versus Virgil Ortiz. Who you got, Mike? Bohachuk's been on a good little run lately. I don't know what to think about Virgil Ortiz right now. I just don't. I was once really, really high on Virgil Ortiz. He was my #1 prospect in the sport. I really, really was super high on him. But man, his career has stalled out. And we've seen that happen with multiple fighters recently, where they look so good and then just whoosh. And I'm telling you, it's been post-COVID, since that outbreak. And I'm not even getting political and into all that crap. I'm just saying, just in general, since 2020, since this decade began, there are just multiple occasions I could think of where some guys just kind of just flatlined their career. I mentioned Josh Taylor and Regis Prograis earlier in the show. Those are 2 guys who come to mind. And Virgil Ortiz is one where, man, he looked like he was going to be the dude. I don't know what to think about him right now. I might lean Bohachuk in that fight if that fight happens. I really might. Alexander with a comment. I got to read this. It says, Dan Rafael never had the makings of a varsity athlete. Wow. You're getting some Dan Rafael slander here, man. What did Dan do to you? What did Dan do to you, Alex, to be saying that? All right, let's get back to the phones. We got Thad here. Let's talk to Thad. Thad, what's up, brother?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I just had a laugh at him. I heard Fat Dan's name mentioned. Boy, that guy, what a dildo he is. I'm sorry. It's just the truth. That guy. Really,
I have no issues with Dan. Me and Dan are cool. I have no issues.
Oh yeah, I bet. But, he seems like like that.
I didn't expect to hear the word dildo on the show tonight, so that got me. That got me.
He's like a habitual wishy-washy. He's like habitual with it.
Yeah,
he's it's just unbelievable. He's like speaks out at 2 sides of his mouth. But anyway, not the reason I called here, Mike. Actually, in 15 minutes, they're going to have the fireworks. I'm at a country club tonight, but guess what? It's Mike Montero prime time. I would have missed it for the world. So here I am at the golf course.
Right.
They're getting ready to do the fireworks. So that's going to go off soon. So if you hear some bangs, it's fireworks, not gunshots.
Not gunshots. Okay.
So,
right.
but real quick, there's this immense gopher hole. Okay. I almost freaking died falling into it. I could have sworn I saw Al Heyman sticking his head out because I know there's an APB.
Yeah.
APB on Al Heyman. I know he stiffed a lot of people with their money, their investments. Oh wait, quote unquote smart investments. Okay. So if anyone's looking for Al, he might be at this golf course I'm at because I saw a head sticking out, and you know what? Maybe it could be him like tunneling to China and investing in the red Chinese. But anyway, enough of that. But it's true. The guy, what an asshole. But it's an interesting take on the whole COVID thing, Mike, and careers dropping like flies. And I think Ortiz, that Ortiz that we saw against Mean Machine, very vulnerable, but I think he would catch Bohachuk. If that's the same guy, then I think he knocks Bohachuk out. But I don't like that fight to go past 6 rounds. So that's an easy bet. But it's interesting analysis this weekend. There's some Teofimo. I like him by points. I just don't see him knocking this guy out. He hasn't shown me like big power at 140. And when you start fighting guys your own size, like Devin Haney, you get exposed, But I think Teo's good enough to beat 98% of the fighters at 140. I just don't see the dynamic power. He has pop, but he just fights in a bad style, man. It's just the Mayweather era shoulder roll has to go. I mean, I hope this new generation kind of just washes that out completely. And we saw how that works when you fight a guy your size or bigger than you. And Haney, when he fought Garcia was relatively the same size. They came up in the same weight division. I mean, it was a massacre. I mean, he dropped him, and he over and over and over, and Haney's flopping around like a fish, like a flounder fish. And he looked about 40 years old after that fight. He was so swelled up. And I think after all the dropping the weight, the way they're doing this, and being a snack fighter, and let me get to that at another junction, because that's a whole other kettle of fish I'd love to address with snack. But the whole weight cut, I think Haney's probably a 34-year-old fighter right now. I think he's probably shot. Quote me on that. He's 25 going on 35. And that beating that he took, you could erase the O with Garcia. You could, justify the robbery of Lomachenko. You could, even skin it towards, Haney against Jojo Diaz, who I thought pretty much, he won 4 or 5 rounds and he buzzed Haney, and Haney wasn't even able to make weight that fight. And then what Teo said about in Mexico, who knows what happened there, where they paid off the officials down there to stricken the record of a loss in Mexico. Who is Devin Haney at this point? I think people need to start asking that question. Why is he so protected by the establishment? Why is it so imperative that this guy be propped up? And when you said Ring Magazine is contemplating putting him back on the pound for pound list, I'm like, are you kidding me? First of all, you addressed it. You said he has no business being on a pound for pound list because he's cutting about 30, 40, 50 pounds before the fight. And he rehydrates 25 pounds. We know that for a fact. California, they had him on record, 25-pound rehydration, which actually went against one of their bylaws. Okay. And with UFC and boxing, they don't allow that, but they let it go. Okay. So it wasn't in violation, but Regis Prograis, I think he's like petitioning that. When you're that big and you're fighting smaller guys, how can you justify being pound for pound? Like, is Devin Haney is that ignorant?
Let's say,
right.
Let's strip the Garcia fight from the record, because Garcia, again, not take the Austrian thing out of it. Just the way he did the weight thing, that fight wasn't on the up and up. So fine, delete that. If you fight that Haney beat Lomachenko, cool. But every single one of those fights outside the Garcia fight, he had a significant size advantage and weight advantage. And he can make the weight, good for him. But if I'm going to put someone on the pound for pound list, one of the criteria is you got to move up in weight. You got to take challenges where you're the smaller guy, or maybe you're fighting in someone else's backyard. You're fighting on their promotion. You have to take a risk like that and come out on top. That's the kind of thing I want to see before I put you on a pound for pound list. And Haney hasn't done
Without a
that.
doubt.
He hasn't done that.
And I hope Ring Magazine really comes to their senses. I don't know what they've been smoking.
Well,
but anyway,
I think I persuaded enough people to keep him off for now.
Well, that's
but
good.
It's only a handful of people that want it, and you if I told you their names, you'd probably say like, oh well, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Of course, and I think it's good for boxing, because I think boxing now, the young fighters coming up are seeing the non-accountability. For a lot of fighters, doing and saying things off color, acting a certain way, getting entitlement, and then playing the victim. And I think that's bad for a lot of these young guys that are looking to emulate certain fighters. I mean, a lot of fighters emulated Floyd. That's why they copied that grab, hold, shoulder roll. A late 34, 5, 6-year-old Mayweather. That's who they're trying to copy. And I think Ring IQ made a show about that. And he was completely 100% correct that a lot of these fighters this generation.
I love Julius.
Yeah, he's been nailing it, man. He deserves like a Pulitzer Prize for boxing. I mean, he's been spot on with a lot of things. I don't agree all the time. Obviously, he can, be a little abrasive with certain aspects, but his boxing viewpoints are pretty spot on, and he's pretty consistent, not playing favorites for the most part. But he made a great point that a lot of these fighters, they're emulating the 36-year-old Mayweather who played it safe, cherry picking. Okay, the shoulder roll, defensive style, not a young man style. It's an old man style, but these young guys, they want to be Mayweather, and that's Devin Haney. I mean, people in his gym would always quote him, like saying like he would even try to emulate the stutter that Mayweather had, for God's sakes. What kind of loser are you that you need to emulate somebody like that? I know you have heroes and stuff, but come on, be your own man. And Bill Haney, with his hijinks. I mean, this guy, yeah, an ex-con, but he has a degree, I think, in communications. This guy is very journalistically connected, and he's got a lot of stuff that propaganda-wise is I've never seen in boxing. I've never seen propaganda that mainstream. This guy has connections upon connections, and I think it's a bad example for these young up-and-coming fighters, especially in America, where, let me tell you, America is barren in the boxing department. My God, there's just no fighters on the reservation. I mean, you don't have a champion above 160. You don't even have a champion at 160, I don't think. I mean, it's like literally barren. And then when they view these fighters like Haney that have such sense of entitlement, it just makes them that much weaker. And I just don't see the sport recovering in this country. And that's why I think Turkey Al-Sheikh is sending you those super chats. I don't know how much they must have been pretty big, and it was like a weird code that they sent it, right, Mike? It was, yeah. I think he's sending you that money. Yeah,
hey,
I think it's Turkey Al-Sheikh, Mike.
Al-Sheikh, hey, he's the man. I'm a big fan. That dude. If there's any way I could get to Los Angeles for that card August 3rd, that's probably impossible. But if there was any way, I would try to get out there. But real quick, you mentioned young American fighters. Look, Jesse Rodriguez is a young American fighter, and he's taken challenges. He's humble.
Yeah, he
doesn't
is.
Come off entitled. There's a lot to like with that kid. And so we've got hope. There's guys out there.
We got hope.
But I'm with you. That whole four corners offense kind of style, it just
unbelievable.
We're just at a point where it doesn't play well, and boxing is fighting for the scraps when it comes to like eyes on the sport in America. You've got to be entertaining. You've got to be thrilling.
That's it right there.
You just have to be. And I think a lot of these guys think that what Floyd was able to do, because Floyd's style sucked to watch, but Floyd had this.
Yeah, later in his career,
he played up the bad guy villain role, to get people mad at him. They'd buy the fight hoping he'd lose. And that worked for Floyd. it's not going to work for Haney and these other guys because nobody knows
Nope.
who the fuck these guys are. That's the bottom
Exactly.
line. So,
Mike, you know that Mayweather was on.
It won't work.
Right. And he was on Dancing with the Stars. He was in WWE, WrestleMania.
Yes.
And if Ryan Garcia wanted to be a boxer full time, he could go on Dancing with the Stars. They'd love to have him on there, being a Latino, being a good looking guy or whatever, you know. He would be perfect for that. But this guy lacks discipline, man. He's thrown his life away, dude. Him and his gambling with poker, trust me. I know a lot of people that play big stakes. This guy is a freaking fish. Yeah, dude. He's done, man. He's done. I would love to put up 50 grand to play in that game, but thing is, I would need another 50 grand to lose just in case if I got, you know, someone got lucky against me. But that's how he plays. He'll make a stupid bet with 3-4 suited against like pocket, like someone will have a made hand, you know, wired aces or kings, and he's just willing to gamble. You know, he has no mathematical precise thinking. And I think that's in boxing. I think that's a detriment. I just think he's on a career ending collision right now. It sucks because, you know, he has the talent. He just didn't have the wherewithal to fine tune some things. He could have been like maybe a poor man's Oscar De La Hoya with that left hook. But man, he just threw it away, boy, I tell you. But that beating he gave Haney, that's going to go down in the annals of the boxing to teach a lesson. You know, how you know, hype jobs are labeled in this sport, and how easy it is if you make a misstep, you know, a cherry pick gone wrong, how easy it could all collapse. And Haney, that's, you know, he's suing everybody now because my value has dropped. No, your value was always down. It's just that you got lucky with the DAZN needing to sign talent in order to push their network in America. And that same thing with Andrade. You guys don't sell anything. You're not worth what you're being paid. And I think that's what a lot of the young fighters are seeing, and maybe are waking up to the fact like, hey, this was just a fluke era in boxing. We have to be Mike Tyson instead of Zahir Rahim or Terrence Carlson. You know, we can't afford to just run and slap and run and slap. We have to fight. We have to bite down the mouthpiece, willing to get knocked out. So, Mike, I think the fireworks are going to start pretty soon.
Okay.
And I really do hope Lomachenko. I think if he takes that fight, I hope it's not for a cash out. I hope he takes it to win, because I think they're taking advantage of him. I think Arum and Top Rank are just taking advantage of the guy.
I've heard
he got screwed over so badly.
I've heard some things off the record that makes me very uncomfortable with that fight.
Jesus.
I would bet Tank big in that fight. I'll just leave it there. On that note.
Well, you know what? If he chooses to cash out, he deserves it. The war in Ukraine, you know, to take care of his family. I guess, you know, hey, good on him if he can get the money and just cash out, because you know what, boxing screwed him. You know, he should have won Undisputed. They screwed him, so why not screw boxing back? Like Triple G. Triple G told you guys to go F yourselves.
Yep.
You're not you, but it's a boxing. Maybe it's just. I just don't want to see him go out like that, though, Mike.
I hear you.
But anyway, Mike, have a good night. And if I see Al Heyman stick his head out again, I don't know. Maybe send a Sicilian message to him.
Okay, Dad. All right, man. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Now.
All right. There he goes. Yeah, you know, real quick before I take this next call, just to recap on some of the things that Thad said, you know, back to the styles thing. You know, there are many different fighter styles, and that's part of what makes boxing so great is all the different styles and cultures that you get in, and there are cultural effects on styles, and that makes it fun. But in American boxing specifically, you know, I've been to many, many gyms across this country, and I've trained literally in probably 24 or more gyms. I mean, seriously trained all over the country. Hell, it's probably more than that if I include my childhood and stuff. And there is an American style now, quote unquote, that's being taught where it's basically stay long, stay outside, stay behind a jab, pot shot, 1 or 2 or 3 good pot shots in the round, and then stay away and win the round. And just do that over and over and over. It's smart. It's effective. It works pretty well in the amateurs, but you see at the highest level, when our kids go over and fight in the Olympics, they mostly get their ass whooped by the Eastern Europeans, the Central Asians, the Cubans, because those guys can do the mid-range fighting, the inside fighting, all that kind of stuff that a lot of our guys are not learning. What they learn on the inside is lean, hold. Okay, well, a lot of these guys over in Eastern Europe and stuff, they're learning different armbar techniques, and they're doing like basically what you call MMA in this country, Muay Thai, things like that. They're learning wrestling on the inside. So that's something that Eastern European fighters didn't have 30, 40, 50 years ago, the way they have it now. So when our kids compete against them at the highest level and they're just trying to stick a jab out there, well, that's not going to work in the Olympics. And that's why our guys aren't medaling. And when you look at the pros, Thad mentioned it, there's no American champions north of 160. And it's because the international fighters, quite frankly, their style is playing out better. And when you look at the guys that actually sell and do numbers, there are anomalies like Ryan Garcia, who is exciting, but also is a really good-looking kid, and that's part of his appeal and how he built himself up. So he's kind of an anomaly. But the guys that do numbers, for the most part, they're either really, really active or they're really, really exciting to watch, or they're taking on real challenges. And so Alexander Usyk, real quick, not the most exciting fighter to watch. Alexander Usyk is a classic boxer in a lot of ways, right? So that's not, he's not a brawler. He's not a guy that's going to go in there and flatten dudes and knock people out. He's not the most exciting guy to watch, but because he has taken on such significant challenges and fought on the road and fought for, unifications and undisputed in multiple weight classes, that's why we want to watch him fight. That's why we're intrigued, because he's willing to take those kinds of risks. So if a guy doesn't have that most amazing style, he's at least got to be willing to take risks and step up, and there's just not a lot of guys willing to do that right now. And that's, to me, one of the biggest issues is the inactivity with a lot of these young fighters and the style that they fight with, the 4 corners offense, safety first. You got to be smart in the ring. I get it, but you also have to take risks, dude. This ain't basketball. Okay, one more call. We're going to take one more call, guys. We're going to go to Nacho. What's up, brother? How you doing?
What's up, Mike? A long time no hear from you.
Yeah.
I can tell that it's been a while because your hair is looking kind of crazy right now.
I know. I didn't even comb it today. I haven't even combed it. I need to comb my hair. I need to get my hair cut this weekend.
You look like you rolled out of bed.
Pretty much, bro. Pretty much, man. I know I look like hell. Someone's going to make a meme of this on Twitter or something.
Just real quick, Mike, just to kind of add a couple of things right now about what you and Thad were going over. I think the best example of a guy, and I brought this up on Ring IQ's show once a few weeks ago. I think the best example of a guy who started off as what a lot of people thought was a stinker in the pros, even though he was good at it and he was effective with it and he was winning fights, but a lot of people weren't really watching him because he just was not entertaining to watch. But then eventually he got it into his head that, like, yeah, I can win and I can be effective, but nobody gives a shit about my career. And then once he finally decided that he was going to start sitting in the pocket more, exchanging more often, and then making his fights a little more exciting, even though he did get hurt and he got knocked down and he lost fights. The guy I'm talking about is Juan Manuel Marquez. A lot of people don't realize that he didn't start off his career as the guy that he ended it as. He started off as a guy who was literally a boxer that would just box guys all night, and he would win decisions, but nobody gave a shit about his fights.
No,
that's why they went out of their way.
That's what they were talking about.
Yeah. they were talking about them and they weren't talking about him at all. And then as soon as he made the transition from boxer to boxer puncher, that's when his career trajectory just completely changed, and he became a Hall of Famer. So unless guys are willing to do what Juan Manuel Marquez did, we're not going to see guys like Shakur Stevenson, Jesus Christ, I'm mixing myself up. Hitcherson, or Richard Hitcherson. I can't even say his name.
Yeah,
Damn.
It is. You want to? Yeah, I do the same thing with his name. It's one of those kind of names.
Yeah, Richardson Hitchens. There you go. God damn it.
Yeah.
Him. That guy. Unless guys of that ilk, and then Haney as well. Unless those guys of that ilk decide at some point or another, do I want to win ugly and nobody gives a shit about my career, or do I actually want to be in entertaining fights and be remembered as a Hall of Famer and somebody that people care about? Then yeah, American boxing is never going to get any better at this point because of guys trying to emulate someone that legitimately was risk adverse towards the end of his career in Floyd Mayweather. So as long as you keep following that blueprint, then yeah, American boxing is in huge trouble moving forward for sure. Just real quick on the fights tonight, Mike. Teo should beat Claggett. I've seen Claggett. He's a decent fighter, but he's a club fighter, and he's not on the same level as Teo. And Teo looks like he's in really good shape. So this should be pretty much a one-sided fight for Teo. I think Teo should, put enough damage on him that he probably stops him in about 6 or 7, and he looks good doing it. The only question is, Mike, after this fight, do you see him taking on someone in the top 10? Or is he going to take another stay busy fight like Claggett?
It's a good question. I hope it's someone in the top 10. And, look, if he fights 3 times this year, then I'll forgive doing, a couple stay busy fights. But, a fight between Teo and Ryan Garcia would maybe make a lot of sense, but that can't happen this year, right? Maybe next year. But yeah, let's pull up the ratings at 140. I just want to see, like, that division's kind of a mess, man.
I'm thinking guys like Puello, Paro, Matias.
Are those guys?
There's just certain guys out there.
Are they going to bring in the name recognition and stuff that he's going to want? Teo's going to want, the money. Because let me pull it up here. I'm pulling up their ring ratings.
I mean, maybe not quote unquote the money, Mike, but the thing is, Teo's not a pay-per-view star. So what are we talking about here? He's not going to go on pay-per-view and sell any of his fights on pay-per-view against any of these dudes on at the 140-pound division. There's a lot of good fights that can be made. There's Prograis, there's Catterall, there's Barbosa, there's Lindolfo Delgado. There's a bunch of guys that he can make entertaining fights against. But if he's going to be stuck on this whole idea of, I'm too good to fight these guys because I consider myself above them, then guess what? You're going to be stuck fighting the Steve Claggett's of the world for little money instead of actually building a fan base and actually, becoming a pay-per-view star where you can make 10, 15, $20 million a fight.
Yeah,
so
I don't think he's
he's
never going to be on that level. He's just not that guy. But I'd love to see Teo fight Devin Haney. I'd love to see that fight. Could we maybe see that next year?
You know what, Mike? I hesitate to say yes, only because Haney's dad is real good about maneuvering him.
Yes.
And I'm not sure they want to take that risk against a guy like Teo who can punch.
Yeah,
I just feel like
the exact
moving
kind of
forward,
they've avoided their whole career.
Yeah. Moving forward, I just think they are literally going to try to avoid guys who can crack with one shot that can legitimately hurt Haney. And that's what I'm saying. That's why they picked a guy like Prograis, who was a little long in the tooth, but he was never
a one-shot KO guy. He was more of a volume guy who would beat guys. If anything, I could see Haney trying to go after like the Barbosas or the Catteralls of the division.
Absolutely.
I don't see him taking on the T.O. or the Matiases, to be honest with you. I just think they're going to go out of their way to avoid fights like that. And then with the other card, Mike, with Bam and Gallo, I've been a fan of Gallo for a long time since he fought Choco in the first fight at the LA Sports Arena where nobody even knew who the hell he was.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think at this point, he is about, in boxing terms, he is about a 39-year-old man at this point. He's got a lot of wear and tear on him. He's had a really good career. But honestly, I think this is a fight where Bam gets the torch passed to him. I think Bam probably punishes him and stops him in about 9 or 10. Wow. I just don't see Gallo being able to hold him off. I think eventually he fights as much as he can, but I think eventually he gets beat. And I think he takes out Gallo, in my opinion. So it'll be, but I just think I think Bam is the present and the future of that division, Mike, and I don't see the old timers being able to hold him off at this point anymore. He's the guy. I think he's gonna go in there and he's gonna take out Gallo for sure in that fight tomorrow night. And then I just got a couple of quick questions, Mike, before I jump off. What do you think about the Venado Angelo Leo fight coming up?
I haven't even looked into that fight. When is that? Angelo Leo?
August 10th.
Oh,
yeah, they just made it. They just announced it. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know about that one. Because we've talked about Angelo Leo on the show before. I think he's
been fighting a lot on these pro box cards.
Yeah, it hits right. I'm just thinking he fought Stephen Fulton in 2021. That was like his big step up. Well, he did beat Tremaine Williams, who took his O. But let's see, Luis Lopez out of Mexico. He's been on a nice little run. He got that win over Conlon, Warrington. Yeah, man, that's a fun fight. What is that? Who is promoting that? That's Top Rank. Okay. That's going to be a fun show, dude. That's in Albuquerque. That's going to be a fun show to watch.
Yeah, they're doing it in Leo's hometown, which I was surprised.
Yeah. I think they're just it's smart to go to I think you're going to start seeing a lot more cards like in Albuquerque, Phoenix, those areas, man, because I'm just looking at this card. They've got Richard Torres is on there. That's smart. That's smart, man. That's a nice
I'm
card,
sure they're going to try. Yeah, I'm sure they're going to try to develop other fight towns that they can take guys to and sell tickets in because, for sure. And then and you brought it up right now, Mike. I actually was looking into going myself to that LA card on August 3rd. The prices right now are just fucking outrageous. I'm going to wait to see if they go down, but let's put it to you this way, Mike. A halfway decent seat right now is $350.
At that soccer, it's at that soccer stadium too, where there's a lot of seats,
it's at the BMO Stadium where the LAFC play at.
It was Banco, California, or whatever, right? Stadium
it used to be that, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's BMO Stadium now. It's called.
Okay. Cool venue, super cool. But man, that sucks, man. You know what?
Man.
Hit me up, dude, because I'll get you in touch with my boy Jim Boone, man. He's the guy that he'll tell you when to buy. It's not always like what you buy with tickets, it's when you buy in boxing because they always overprice the shit up front. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's just crazy.
Yeah, like ringside, they're talking about anywhere between $1,200 to $1,500, Mike. I was like, get out of here. I'm not fucking paying anywhere near that. That's insane. Yeah, so that's why I'm just waiting to see if the prices drop because they had the pre-sale 2 weeks ago, or the the sale to the general public 2 weeks ago, and I was looking at the prices, and I'm like, that is disgusting. Like, the cheapest decent seat was $350. That's why I said, oh, hell no. I was like, I'll wait and see what happens. But okay, cool. Yeah, for sure. I'll definitely hit you up on the DM, Mike, and you can tell me more about Jim Boone and see if I can get a better idea of when to get him. Because me and my buddies want to go to that fight, but those prices are just not doable. No way.
Yeah, man, I don't blame you one bit. That's insane. But yes, please do that, and I'll make sure you get taken care of, man. All right.
All right, cool. All right, Mike. I will see you the next time you jump back on. I don't know when that's going to be.
Hopefully it won't be 3 months. All right, Nacho, have a great weekend.
Yeah,
man.
Exactly. All right, man. You too. All right, later.
Okay. Real quick, I want to share my screen here and show you guys this poll I did where I asked you, how do you think the big fight is playing out in Phoenix? And only 129 votes. That's interesting. I didn't get a lot of votes on this poll. I have to say, when I do a poll about Tyson Fury, Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia, more popular fighters, Canelo Alvarez, I get 1,000 votes. This one, again, when I said at the very beginning of the show, where I talked about this being a diehard fight fans fight, that's kind of what I was alluding to. Anyway, it looks like, man, almost 90% of you have Bam winning. So about 42% have Bam points, and almost 46% have Bam stoppage. So it looks, again, diehard fans are who's responding to this poll, people who know what they're talking about. And only about 10% of you, just maybe 12%, have Estrada winning. So, I mean, that's pretty one-sided. So I think everyone's kind of in agreement that Bam is that dude and he should win this fight. Let's see. One last comment from Alexander. He says, Mike, who would you have if Devin Haney fought Ryan Garcia again in their next fight when they both come back, I guess, next year? It would depend on weight and drug testing. But let's just assume that they were able to decide on a catch weight, and both guys could come in at 144, and they had the full VADA testing program, blood testing, everything. So you're assuming everything's on the up and up. Both guys coming in the same weight. They're not, one isn't gaming the other. All things being equal. I don't know, dude. Like, it's hard for me to unsee some of the things that happened in that first fight. Because, again, I understand Ryan Garcia cheated. And so maybe those punches have a bigger impact because he was juiced up. He was doing different things. He was stronger. He didn't kill himself to make weight. So maybe the punches had more impact when they landed. For me, it's not that shocked me. It's that so many of them landed over and over and over and over and over. Just Devin Haney, he looked like he was in his head. It's like when the first one landed, he almost kind of panicked. I don't want to use the word panic, but it just looked like he started to get in his head. And would that happen in a second fight? I don't know, dude. I might lean toward Garcia. They fight again. I really might. It just might come down to a styles thing, where apparently these guys split 6 fights in the amateurs. But if you look at their styles, Haney is definitely more of an amateur style. Ryan's style is definitely better for the pro game. So over a 12-round fight, Ryan's style just might be all wrong for Devin. So I don't know, dude. Right now, you put a gun to my head, I might say Garcia in that fight again. I really might. All right, guys, on that note, have a good weekend. Great show. And yes, the next time I'll comb my hair so I don't look like a homeless person. But yeah, I have combed my hair. I brushed my teeth. I took a shower, went to the gym, took a shower, brushed my teeth. So I've done that. I just haven't combed my hair. I'm wearing a hat all day. But That's my life right now. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed the show. Please pay the fee, spread the word, get it out there. I appreciate you guys. Have a great weekend. See you at the fights.